In a hypothetical scenario, would 2000 algo be considered good enough? Even though nothing I say is financial advice, and even though I can't speak on anyone's behalf, I would not find that disappointing because maybe in a make-believe scenario, if one algo went to the price of $5 during a fully fledged type of altcoin season, at that point, if that were to ever happen, 2000 algo would be worth 10,000 because, of course, 2000 times 5, 10 grand. Now, some people may be thinking, okay, who really cares about that? However, to me, it doesn't seem as bad as what some people may make it out to be because if let's say I was able to save 50% of that, so 5 grand, and let's say in a make-believe scenario, I put that for the next cycle. Now, for whatever reason, if in that next cycle, that does a 10x, that becomes 50 grand, that's not something that I would find disappointing, considering how a lot of my friends that I know out there, sure, they may have, a regular income, they have a lot going in, but in terms of their expenses, like traveling consistently, eating out consistently, having expensive car payments, doing this, doing that, buying random nonsense. In the grand scheme of things, I don't see many people out there with savings that are that much, let alone in their portfolio or something like that. So, sure, some people might be thinking, oh, 50 grand and all this, but then again, a lot of people that I know out there, they don't have that much saved. So the way I take a look at it is that, of course, it's going to be different on a case-by-case basis. However, it doesn't seem like such a bad amount to me, especially if, let's say, the portfolio isn't only just algo. Let's say there's other projects too, and maybe they do this or do that, who knows. And also, I don't think it's so much about what other people have. I think it's more so about working with what I can have. So instead of me focusing on what someone else has, someone may think, oh, a million or whatever like that. To me, it's all about what I can do with what I have. So again, I'm not too focused on what other people have. It's just more so what I can do with what I have. And I think that's just the mentality that I'd like to have when it comes to any project out there, because let's say we have a certain amount of holdings for this project. Someone comes along and says, oh, we have this much. And then sometimes we're like, oh, what, really? Oh, man. And then we don't feel that enthusiastic. So I don't want to think like that. I just think about, hey, you know what? What am I going to do with what I have? However, let's explore the scenario of maybe $5 when it comes to algo. Now, at that point, that's around 19x from here, which I don't think is something that I would find that disappointing either, because if let's say that were to happen, would I still choose Bitcoin or Ethereum or this? Now, at that point, algo, because if I take a look at Bitcoin, what's that going to do? Some people arguably are saying 300 grand, but that's less than a 3x from here if that were to ever even happen for this cycle. Ethereum at 10 grand, less than a 3x from here as well. Even if algo just went to the price of $2.50, so that's give or take around 9x, 10x, whatever, even at that point, I would still rather believe in that over Bitcoin and Ethereum for this cycle. This is just my mentality. I do not know the future. However, this is just something that I would rather prefer over that, even though I don't only just hold algo. However, even at the price of $5, considering current circulating supply, market cap at that point would be around $43.5 billion, which is still around $60 billion less than BNB's all-time high market cap, and that was back in 2021, and also around $40 billion less than Dogecoin's all-time high market cap back in 2021 as well. It's not such a outlandish figure, but then again, if let's say if it just even went to the price of $2.50, market cap at that point, again, around 21 billion, 21.5 billion, even at that point, it doesn't seem something too ridiculous in my perspective. However, this is just my mindset. Now, I think Algorand is a very unique layer 1 blockchain to me because it's arguably the technology of choice for over 2,000 global organizations. At least it's been alleged, right? At least I've seen. So I find that very impressive. Not to mention, we take a look at how when it comes to Algorand, it is also allegedly carbon neutral, which I think is a big bonus as well because, a lot of enterprises nowadays, they want to go green. They want to showcase that they care about environment. So I think they may care about something like that when it comes to Algorand. Not to mention, what I love about Algorand is that when it comes to its adoption, sometimes you like to say, oh, it's not the best and all this type of stuff. Well, let's take a look at something like Avalanche, which is often kind of the close competitor when it comes to Algorand. I don't think the adoption is the best of all time, So I don't think as of right now that is a priority for many people. I think a lot of people nowadays, they more so care about the story, the sort of narrative, kind of the attention, and I think Algorand kind of plays into that because if we take a look at Algo, its native token is listed in a bunch of major exchanges. It has a good amount of holders. Also, Algorand is a pretty reputable layer 1 blockchain, and also on top of that, it has pretty decent attention, so I don't think it's that bad. Not to mention, I think a unique aspect that people don't really care about when it comes to Algorand is ISO 20022. And now, for the people out there that are bullish on Ripple or Stellar, I think they'll know what I mean by this, but let me explain real quick. ISO 20022, that is currently being used by many financial institutions from all around the world for something called inter-organizational data exchange. It's typically sort of this compliance that a lot of these projects that are focused on payments and global trade and finance kind of strive towards, right? However, when it comes to Algorand, it has an aspect of that, but then it's not really this project that's known as like a competitor for Ripple or Stellar or like XDC or something like that. It's not viewed as in that regard, but the fact that arguably it does have that aspect, again, of ISO 20022, I think that's a true testament as to just how much probably Algorand cares about their project, because if we think about it, if let's say they didn't do any of this, would anyone really care? I mean, does anyone really care what Solana has in terms of compliance or something like Avalanche, you know? They usually think, oh, it's cool and interesting and all this. So when I see something like this when it comes to Algorand, it's a big thumbs up because I just find that very impressive, and it's not really something that I would have originally expected when I take a look at something like Algorand, but then again, I just find that very fascinating and very unique. All I can do right now, though, in my opinion, I think is just stay patient because I will not be able to know the exact moment in time Algo does this or does that. Like, who knows what Algo is going to do next Tuesday or next Monday? I have no idea. But the only thing that is within my control is just literally staying patient, dollar cost averaging, holding, and just waiting, and that's pretty much about it. And some people like to say, oh, why don't you pull up a price chart, draw some random triangle, at that point you're going to know this or that. I disagree with that because I don't think that's going to let me know anything really, because if I drew some random triangle, what's that going to do? The market's not going to care about that. And I see some people out there, they draw some random triangle, they keep adjusting it based on the price movement. So at that point, they're saying, oh, this is going to happen at this time. It doesn't. And then they just keep adjusting it. What's the point? At that point, I'm just drawing. It's not something I want to do. I'd rather focus on the fundamentals. I'd rather take a look at just kind of what the project is all about. Because if I just take a look at the price chart, it doesn't really paint the full picture. If I just take a look at the price chart of Algo, I would think that fundamentally Algorand may be worse than Dogecoin. But then, of course, it's not even comparable. Dogecoin is a meme coin, Algorand is a layer 1 blockchain that's very reputable. So then again, I just don't want to just pay attention to the price charts. All I'm doing is staying patient, and that's about it. It's not more so about knowing the exact moment in time, it's just more so about preparing for a moment in time, if that makes sense. And that's what I'm doing. But again, when people ask maybe the question, is 2,000 Algo good enough? Again, I can't make a decision for anyone, but hypothetically, if Algo goes to the price of $5, I wouldn't find that disappointing. And even at the price of $2.50 also, I wouldn't even find that hypothetically that disappointing either. However, this is just my mindset. I'm just going to stay patient as of right now, and I'm a fan of Algorand. And feel free to subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I'll greatly appreciate it. It's Only the Captain, and I'll catch you all in the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.